Let's talk about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So, for the first time, we're going to be doing the movie club and book club video in one synergy, guys, because we read and watched the same thing, as in the book was the source material for the movie. So, you know what? I described this to a friend and I said, I think both are good, but for different reasons. They do different things well, and they're both really great for it. So I want to talk about some of the changes and talk about what I liked from both. Though I don't think there was anything that I really disliked at all, so I don't need to talk about that necessarily. So, what we did like... sorry, the changes. So, the biggest change is the kind of the narrative structure. So in the book, it is a first-person perspective from Chief. We see everything through Chief's eyes from start to finish, whereas the movie, obviously it's third person, but there's no first-person narrator, and Chief isn't really the main focus of it. We're not seeing it through Chief's perspective. It's just McMurphy, Jack Nicholson, who is fantastic in this. It is just McMurphy's actions, what's happening. Obviously, Chief is kind of there in the background for basically everything apart from the boat scene, which was quite sad. I thought it'd be nice to have Chief in that, but he wasn't in it. So basically, we have the book where it's Chief's perspective. Everything is what Chief sees. He regularly comments on things. He talks about his family, his life. There is more of that perspective of Native Americans, which is really nice. Less of that, unfortunately, in the movie, because I think obviously you got Jack Nicholson. He is going to be the star. He is going to be the focus. Also, this movie is star-studded. Jack Nicholson, Christopher Lloyd, Danny DeVito steals the show. There are a lot of famous actors in this movie, and a lot of them when they were, just coming up, just being, getting into the groove. So that's the biggest change, the narrative focus, which makes sense. Like I said, Jack Nicholson, he is going to be your main character. You're going to focus things around him. Also, it's a bit more difficult to tell a first-person perspective movie. I remember, I think it was it's Great Gatsby, isn't it? Great Gatsby is all through, is it Nick's eyes? And they made a movie with Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's not Kirsten Dunst. She's a good actress. I can't remember her name. She was in the Suffragette movie. I can't remember. She was everywhere when Great Gatsby came out. She's still in stuff, but I can't remember her name. Anyway, obviously that's a first-person movie. You have Nick narrating a lot of stuff. I just didn't connect with it, and to be honest, I don't connect. As I've gotten older, I don't really like Great Gatsby as much anymore. But anyway, that aside, book, Chief's perspective, movie, third person, Jack Nicholson. There were some differences and some changes they added. I think, as we spoke about the boat scene, that is one thing I actually wasn't the biggest fan of, the way they changed it, where it comes across as a spur-of-the-moment thing that just happens, and instead of it being more along the lines of, it kind of felt like McMurphy planned it and really got people on board and was explaining things. He took someone aside, the captain, the general, and said, you're going to pilot the boat, gets him involved, gets Chief involved in it. And whereas in the movie, it kind of, it didn't, not necessarily spur of the moment thing, but it added it changed the interaction between McMurphy and Chief. But I don't know, it felt like it was meant to be spur of the moment, and I just don't think that fit as much. Like, I think McMurphy was positioned less as someone who was calculated and more someone who will just act off of his whims, really, in that part of the book. So the scene in itself is really well shot. It's really lovely, really well acted. But yeah, I kind of did prefer the book's take on that specific thing. There were other things that there were changes. So there were changes to the Doctor felt a little bit stricter than he was in the book. In the book, he felt a little bit more buddy-buddy with McMurphy, but he came across as a bit more strict in the movie. Again, I think they expanded a couple of the characters. Like Cheswick doesn't die; he's there for the entirety of the book, the movie. Sorry. Whereas in the book, he dies maybe halfway, maybe just over halfway through the book, and that kind of has a mental. That also comes after McMurphy kind of plays by the rules a little bit, and it has a mental toll on McMurphy. So it does change it up a bit. I guess they kind of transition that to having Cheswick being also electroshock therapied alongside McMurphy and Chief. So instead of Cheswick dying, he gets the stuff with that. He has a fight basically with Nurse Ratched, and referred to as the Black Boys in the book and the movie. So there was that change. I don't know. I mean, Cheswick's actor was very good, so maybe that's why they were like, okay, let's change this. And it was a very visceral scene. The screaming and the shouting and the fighting there. It felt very like in your face. So yeah, okay, that made sense. So some of the changes made sense to fit the narrative of the movie, and again, also making McMurphy a little bit more active in having him steal the bus in a movie translates really well compared to him going around talking to everyone, convincing them, cajoling them into doing the boat trip. So yeah, I get the changes. The changes were to maybe make the book more cinematic, so it made sense. But I did some of the things I preferred how it was done in the book compared to in the movie. The other thing I feel like they changed was it kind of felt like for about half of the movie, Nurse Ratched felt very humanized. You kind of felt not bad for her, but you kind of felt like she was actually doing what she thought was best for these people. You kind of got the feeling where she actually really cared about them, and you kind of maybe get a little bit of that perspective in the book, but in the movie it really does feel like, oh, she cares about these guys, but maybe she's a bit too, her perspective on things are too strict, or maybe she, it doesn't feel like she wants power over them. Like in the book, it's very clear that it feels like Nurse Ratched wants to have power over these guys, whereas in the movie it feels like maybe she's overbearing, but she might be overbearing because she genuinely thinks being overbearing is the right thing to do. But then you kind of get to the second half of the book, and the grudge she has against McMurphy, just like in the book, very clear there's a grudge there, and that it does go more, and how the way she talks to Billy Bibbit is spot on with the book, and I was like, oh my god, you could feel like Billy. So it did feel very much in line with the book, but I did like that they humanized her a little bit. And even like the Black Boys, they were humanized as well. Obviously, I mean, the reason they call the Black Boys is because it's based on, I don't know how to say the author's name, Ken Carrox. I genuinely don't know how to pronounce his name. It's based on his perspective working in a psychiatric ward, and also they referred to as the Black Boys because the people working in the psychiatric wards at the time were oftentimes poorly paid and not very well respected, and unfortunately those were jobs that mostly were for minorities, particularly black people in the United States, because this was the early 60s. So yeah, unfortunately at least it's based on his experience in the early 60s. So unfortunately that was the case. So that's kind of why, but they did feel like they were humanized. They got some more lines, they were playing basketball with the people in the psychiatric ward, and obviously there was I think it was Washington has the conversation with McMurphy about how he can just be kept indefinitely if Nurse Ratched and the doctor feel like it. So yeah, they did feel a little, and they had like the fight scene again. So the Black Boys were more humanized as well, which was a nice change in my opinion. So the things I liked, like I said in the book, I liked that it was through Chief's perspective. I also liked how sometimes Chief would relate what was happening and then taking it back to his kind of memories and his personal life, and also all the stuff about how Native Americans were treated was a really like interesting thing. Again, obviously I'm not American, and I do have some knowledge of how Native Americans have been, exploited, their land stolen, abused, treated like second-class citizens. But to get that perspective from the Native American character was very different. You don't get that in typically the kind of novels I read, and typically I do read a lot of translated fiction from around the world. So yeah, maybe I do need to read more stuff about Native Americans, both history and also from Native Americans in fiction as well. Be interesting. So I really like that perspective that was in the book. In the movie, okay, I'm gonna nerd out a little bit. This movie is so well directed. It is spectacularly directed. Actually, no, very quickly, because I wanna gush about that. In my edition of the book, which is like the Penguin Classics book, there are illustrations from the author, which really bring some life to the book. Helps. I like when books play with the form of the novel, where there's the image. It's not just an image on a full page. It is or on a chapter, or used as like a paragraph break. But it was almost like the page bent around these images. I think it's just a spectacular way of presenting it. I think it's really nice when books do something different. And I don't know if every edition of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest has this, but I'm not sure. Maybe, but maybe not. But anyway, going back to the movie, oh my god, it's so well directed and photographed. There's this. It does this thing, and it's very unsettling, where it does a slow zoom in on the actors when they're, particularly when they're delivering lines, particularly when. It's not just when Jack Nicholson's character is McMurphy is concentrating on someone, but it happens a lot when he is. There's this one where I think it's the first time he's in the group session, or he's watching the group session, and Nurse Ratched is talking, and it does this very slow zoom on her, and it's a little bit unsettling, and it's so well done. I think that is just. I saw that and I was like, oh, this is beautiful. And the obviously spoilers. The final shot, which they end the book slightly, they end the movie slightly earlier than the book, which I think made sense. Where Chief is running away from the psychiatric hospital, and it's just this one static shot, and they've got these hills. I think they're hills. I don't know if they're hills, but it's like the landscape dips and comes up a bit, and you see him going and getting smaller, and it dips and comes up and dips, and I was like, oh my god, that's beautiful. That was genuinely beautiful. I know the book ends with him, I think, talking about how he basically hitchhiked and arrived in Canada, and you get that almost closure in the book with the ending, which is also nice. And obviously it's because we've been following Chief so much, and because we've been following Chief, you want that closure with him. But obviously in the movie, you're mostly following Jack Nicholson's character, McMurphy, and Chief comes more into it in the latter half. I think, yeah, the boat trip is about halfway through the movie, and it's just after that last third, Chief becomes more prominent, and just that shot, but because we kind of shifted to him being the main character, and also you don't really know what's going to happen in the end in the movie afterwards. Just him slowly going on, you don't actually know what's going to happen to him. That kind of open-ended ending when it comes to the book, I really enjoyed that. I think that was really the endings felt different. One, you got the closure because we were with Chief the whole time, and the other one is that open-ended stuff. What's going to happen to Chief? What's going on? That kind of almost like unsettling nature of the ending, which was, I think, something throughout the movie. There were just things that were unsettling. It's really, both are so good. I think the book is a great. I don't know, because they're both talking about how you can very much see in both how psychiatric patients, at least I can't say probably still now because I don't know, but at least then were mistreated, not not valued as humans and stuff. The dehumanization of them, really. And I don't think they are referred to in the movie as chronics and acutes. I don't think they use that terminology, but they use it in the book. And it's almost that thing where, they're dehumanized. They're just brought down into these two different like just groups. And in the movie, I think that's maybe portrayed as like there's this fence inside the ward, which I think is in the book as well, but it's very visual. It's very much in the background of a lot of the shots where the chronics are, and then you've got the acutes in the front. So it's really good. Oh, actually, something that they did change which I didn't like is what's his name, Turkle, the ending where they have that party and get caught. Turkle in the book is very much into it. He's involved. He's there. He's having fun. He has a nice, happy ending. In more than one sense, actually. Whereas in the movie, he is kind of just like sad and depressed in the end. It feels like they changed it from him being a little bit buddy-buddy with McMurphy and him having a nice ending to him kind of, almost it feels like they had to double down on McMurphy's almost being like a hazard, not just to himself but to people around him in the movie, where I think his name is Turkle. I'm pretty sure it's Turkle. He kind of just like, oh, guy, you ruined everything. The supervisor sees Candy, as in the girl Candy, not actual Candy, but there's probably Candy involved as well, knowing McMurphy. He sees her, she sees her, and says, get her out of here. Whereas in the book, it kind of feels like everyone's a little bit more in on it. The party's not as big, but the party scene is very well shot in the movie. And again, having this big party is a more cinematic thing than a couple of them having a little bit of fun and drinking. So that makes sense. But I just didn't like how Turkle was... There was that little bit of levity in this very harsh ending in the book. Just a Turkle having, getting to leave with one of the escorts. It's like a nice little thing that happens, and then you get really slammed with the stuff that happens with Billy Bibbit and McMurphy. But maybe they felt tonally that would be a little bit too hard to pull off in the movie, so they have him kind of being just depressed and just falls asleep on the sofa for the rest of the scene. But I preferred how it was done in the book, but I can again see how that doesn't translate very well to a film. But anyway, going kind of back to the things I liked. Yeah, just very well shot, very well photographed. Jack Nicholson's performance is spectacular. Christopher Lloyd was very good. He was Taub, I believe. He didn't have too many lines, but when he did, he really killed it. And Danny DeVito as well. I don't know. I think Danny DeVito's character was given more prominence in the movie, but he has like 4 lines, but he's present throughout the movie, and he's really he kind of feels like the heart of the movie. Billy Bibbit's character is very faithful to the book, and that's very nice to have. And Nurse Ratched again, also the actress did a very good job of almost making you sympathize with Nurse Ratched for a good portion of the film. And again, Jack Nicholson's fantastic in it. He is both he is charming, he is sympathetic, you feel some sympathy for him, and also he is you can't tell if he's actually... I don't think they refer to him as a psychopath in the movie, but if he's like a psychopath in the book, and both, they really translate over this. You don't know where he really stands. Is he putting this on? Is he not putting this on? What's going on with him? It's really what's going on here? And then with the end of McMurphy, I will say, there is a Bollywood film where it seems like they've taken aspects of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I watched this when I was very young. I've not seen it since. I'll put the poster if I can find it. I know who's in the movie, so I'll find the movie and I'll put the poster. They've taken aspects of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and the big thing they took was how McMurphy dies. You know, how Chief in sympathy kills McMurphy. The character, I think in the Bollywood movie, the character has like amnesia. So it's actually maybe a kind of like amnesia, or like he went through a traumatic incident which has kind of given him amnesia. And I think he's lobotomized in the Bollywood film, and just like McMurphy is. And then there's a character who does the same thing Chief does with the pillow over his face. And that was very visceral in both the book and the movie, but in the Bollywood movie they did the same thing as well. I was like, oh wait, no, I've seen this. What? No, this is. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, it's just they took aspects of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and copied it. But yeah, in the movie, sorry, that was just a tangent. In the movie, it's very like visceral fighting. Your Chief is struggling. It's very, and he is in the book as well. But obviously in the book as well. The other characters kind of know he's doing this, whereas in the movie it's kind of no one knows he's doing it. He does this. He takes a decision himself. But that was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I mean, look, no wonder it's a Oscar award win. I mean, the version I watched, I think, was the 2021 remaster of the movie. So I think it was, yeah, it wasn't 4:3. I think mine was actually 16:9. So it was the Academy Awards remaster that I watched. So obviously, no wonder this movie did spectacularly in terms of the awards. It's brilliant, and the book is very good as well. If you haven't watched or read one or the other, but you know what I mean, I recommend it. Do it. And if you're gonna only choose one, treat it for your preference. If you like movies, I say watch the movie. It's a very, very good movie. Probably best movie I've watched this year. Oh, makes sense. An Oscar award-winning movie. Of course, it's a good movie, especially in the 70s. But again, obviously, if you win an Oscar, you just throw a really good party. So that was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, both the book and the movie. And just a reminder, as we sign out, the movie and the book. The book, actually, oh my god, I forgot. I've blended the two together. The book we are going to be reading is. Okay, I'm dizzy. Ooh. Hiromi Kawakami's Under the Eye of the Big Bird. I wanted to read her. It's been a couple months since I read a Hiromi Kawakami book, and I want to read one. Okay, so a bit selfish there, but I will eventually read a Chimes book. I will. I think it's coming. Maybe in the summer it'll probably be a read. And the movie we're going to be watching is Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I didn't enjoy the book, so it'll be interesting to watch the movie and see if it's translated in a way that I enjoyed it. And maybe it'll make me want to go off and read a John le Carré book. Maybe I'll read them in order or something. I don't know. So, Under the Eyes of the Big Bird, and also Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Those are our two missions. And next month, obviously, those will be two separate videos, the reviews for either one. So, thank you guys for watching. Again, thank you for being members. I think I'm in a bit of a weird mood because I'm hungry. So I'm going to go and have some luncheon right now. Thanks for being here.